Soundstripe. Welcome to South End Supporters, the St. Louis City SC podcast, powered by Ready to Live Wellness, and coming at you from the Warrior Logo Wear studio. Erik Cole alongside the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff. DH David Heck is still out this evening, but we are going to preview our STL Kalachi preview for City's upcoming game this Sunday at 6 p.m. at City Park, as they will look to bounce back, as we keep saying, bounce back and bounce back. But they will take on Portland at home. But before we get into that, Dave, how we doing this evening?
Second sode of the week, South End submission sode, preview sode, everybody's favorite, the people's episode is what our buddy DH calls this one. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we always look forward to, especially with the run of results lately, I think we always look forward more to the second episode of the week than we do the first episode of the week. But hopefully this Sunday, City will give us something to look forward to for the first episode coming next week, again, as they'll take on Portland at 6 p.m. at City Park. Dave, what can you tell us about Portland coming to town?
Well, it wasn't too long ago where City faced off against Portland and dropped that tight 2-1 game where they battled back and tied it 1-1, and then Portland won off the corner kick in stoppage time. The goal that Ayala scored was really a heartbreaker, and that was on June 8th. It doesn't seem like that long ago. I think we were crazy enough on June 8th to think that City still had a chance to be a playoff team. We're a little more realistic now. So, nevertheless, Sunday night soccer, the Portland Timbers come to town. It's going to be a hot one. It's going to be a muggy one. I'm not sure how many people are actually going to be there for this one, but hopefully as many people as they can get down to City Park. 6 games against Portland in our brief history against them, 2-2-2. Like I said earlier this year, the 2-1 loss. They're dealing with not as many injuries as City is, but a big one. Anthony is dealing with a muscle injury, and he is expected to be questionable at best, if not doubtful. That would be huge in terms of defending that Portland attack. But really what this is going to come down to for City is how healthy can they get and how quickly. Leuven has been back in training. That's good to see, but it remains to be seen whether or not he'll actually play. I can't imagine if he is active that he'll start. At this point would just like to see him not start. Baumgartel was held out of the last match with a tentative date of coming back to face Portland, so you may have Timo back in the center. So everything is so up in the air right now, as it kind of has been all year. So, again, it's really tough to make predictions when you really don't know what sort of starting lineup is going to be out there. What we do know about Portland is that they're 4th in the West right now with 33 points. City sit down in 14th, only 3 points above the Galaxy now, as the Galaxy picked up a win last weekend. So the battle for the wooden spoon is heating up. What do we expect out of this team? Well, we saw against Real Salt Lake that they are willing to play open even if they don't have the center backs there. So I kind of would expect them to maybe make the same approach against the Timbers. Really, there's nothing to lose, and Critch has. If there's one thing about Critch, he's shown the capacity to not back down from a challenge, and they're not afraid to play open and to whip cross. I talked Tuesday about the number of crosses and the concerted effort to get Klaus the ball. 8 successful crosses last week, and that was double what Salt Lake had. So I think probably the qualifications for successful crosses are that your team actually gets a piece of the cross and maybe has a shot attempt. So that's what I would expect. If you still have the same healthy squad, if you're able to control a little bit more of the ball and take it to Portland early, then you've got a shot. They're a different team at home than they are away. City tend to play better at home with the crowd behind them, but there's really no telling what you're going to get. So I don't know. Who do you see? Who's key for City right now, based on what we've seen over the last month and a half? Who has to have a really strong game? Assuming that the lineup is essentially the same, right?
Yeah.
who has to have a really strong game for City to get a result here?
Yeah. So the first one that jumps out for me, and this is based off of last time we played. I just went back and watched last game that we played with them, and that game we should have been up 3 or maybe even 4-0 before Portland even got their goal. And remember, Anthony had that worldie as well, where he flicked over Tots and got in on goal, and that kind of changed the trajectory of how the game was going. Because up until that, it was all City. Remember, there was that triple save that was made.
Yep.
Klaus missed that wide open volley towards the top of the box. I think Beck shot one near post. He also missed another opportunity shooting off goal that he should have buried. So right up until Portland really even had a chance, we could have been up 3 or 4-0. We get the goal from Watts, but eventually it was let back in. So the one that stands out to me is the run of form that Klaus is on right now. Had he been in that run of form that game, it could have been a completely different outcome. Now, Portland's on a much higher trajectory than they even were then. They're a pretty hot team right now, so it's going to be a tough atmosphere at home. To me, it's going to be whoever is in that pairing of the center back, or excuse me, the center backs as well. But really, who's running in the midfield? If it's Wallem and Ostrak again, they have to do better than they did against RSL. They have to not make Hartle do so much of the activity. Just let him be creative in offensive third and be attacking. But there's just so many. I think if you're gonna whoever you run out on the wings, if it's Toichert, if it's Celio, if it's Betcher, whoever it may be, they have to be creative out on the wings and provide some sort of width as well as getting crosses into the box for Klaus to just be able to stay home and finish those off. But for them to even have a chance and for us to be able to even have a chance to control the game, whoever's playing in that center back or center mid duo has to perform better and has to be able to control the game a little bit better. I think both Wallem and Ostrak just had an off game. To your point, or as you brought up, Leuven's back in training. I can't see him being just thrust back into the starting 11. So maybe him coming off the bench would be a real big spark to help finish out a game or just help control the game a little bit better. But I really think for me, just from what we've seen lately, we've really just been destroyed throughout the center of the park. So whoever that center mid pair is going to be crucial, I think, as far as just getting those guys the opportunity to set up our goal scorers. What about you?
This is an obvious statement, but they're going to have to score more goals than Portland to get a result here. Mm-hmm. It's got to come down to finishing, and it comes down to João Klaus. I mean, let's just realistically, with the way that they're set up right now, there's no hope in keeping Portland off the board for less than 2 goals. I don't see it. I see that if City is going to win this game, Klaus has to have at least 1, probably 2. He's going to get opportunities against Real Salt Lake. They created 17 shots. Now on goal, bring it up. I just lost it. Sorry, the downfalls of technology. 17 shots, 5 shots on target. Okay, they actually out XG to RSL last week, so they're going to get their chances. He's just got to bang 2 of them into the back of the net. That's what has to happen. He has to have a team of the match week type of game for them to get a result. And that's kind of what it's come down to, is the guys that are going to put the ball in the back of the net, or that's their job, have to have league-topping performances because the midfield and the center of the defense are in such disarray. Mm-hmm. The obvious one would be to say Roman Berkey has to have the game of his life too, but he seems to have these games every week where he's making 4 or 5 saves that keep City in the game long enough to try to make some sort of remarkable comeback. So that's what I think. My prediction is a 2-2 draw. And I think Klaus, I don't think he'll get 1. If Klaus gets 2, this is, again, maybe an obvious thing. If Klaus gets 2, they win this game 3-2. But I don't think Klaus gets 2. I think Klaus gets 1. I'd be interested to see if Orozco gets another start. I feel like his play really earned it. I think he has another game, right? And his call up was for it's like a 2-game call up or a 4-game call up. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he got another start at that left back spot. If Timo were to come back, I would assume that would move Yarrow out of there, and you'd have Timo and JGR. Again, it's so tough to really make any sort of educated prediction without knowing who's going to be out there. But just based on if you run the same lineup or a similar lineup out there as RSL, my prediction is 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I think it's all based on not only City's starting 11, but if Anthony's out, that could be a huge factor as well for, Portland's been missing some key factors in their offense, and if some of them come back, it could be, a different story. The biggest thing I want to point out is, you said Klaus has to have a game, bang in a couple goals. But on top of that, we need to do what Critch has been talking about, and then after those goals, focus on the next 5 minutes and not allowing these teams back into it. We need to pull what Portland did to us and score and then build off that home atmosphere and then hopefully get out far enough to where if they do get a goal, it's that us conceding one late, but we've gotten the game beyond at that point. So I think the critical moment is I think City's going to score first. What do you do the next 5 to 10 minutes really will dictate how this game's going to go. I want to be optimistic and just think about the last performance that we had. It's tough saying that with the run of form we've had and just the possible personnel. I think if Klaus can get 2 goals, I can see a 2-1 win. But it's going to come down to, I think Klaus has got to be on his game. He can't have missed opportunities like he did the last time we played him where he left 2 or 3 on the board. And he's going to need that support from the team as far as everybody's just going to have a performance. And I'm hoping that at home there's something that they can just, build off of. I'm curious, like you said, does Jay Reed pop back in when Orozco? I think what we've touched on before, and I'm hoping Critch kind of has this ideology, is you play who's hot. You got to play who's hot right now. And coming off a performance like that, if he still has another one in him, get a little competition going for that left back spot. It's just been a bugaboo for us all this time. Let's get some actual competition and just letting everybody know we're running who's hot. So you better get hot if you want to see the field type of thing. So I'm just going to be optimistic. I'm going to try and be optimistic until eventually I'll maybe get one of these right. But I'm gonna go 2-1 City, and I'm just gonna hope that we can get ahead early. I'm with you. I don't think we're keeping Portland off the board. I think there's going to be chances that they create. But I'm hoping what we do is we build off that first 30 that we had against them the first time, but put those away, and then it's just a goal that we give up late and we think, that was just a dumb mistake, rather than we were, here we go again type of stuff. So that's what I'm going with. So hopefully we'll have something positive to pull out of the game for when we have to review that game. Again, that game will be this Sunday, 6 p.m., Sunday Night Soccer at City Park. And so they will be taking on the Portland Timbers. And that is your STL Kalachi preview. Make sure you go check out STL Kalachi in Sunset Hills at the 1530 South Kirkwood Road in St. Louis location. Looking back now, I really wish for 4th of July I would have grabbed a box of kolaches and brought them to South End stands. I know we had food galore and it was all extremely delicious, but you can always compliment any food that you bring with some kolaches. So
yes, indulging in a kolache is the perfect way to start your day. It's the perfect way to start lunch. It's the perfect way to start. It's just perfect. It's a perfect food. I won't hear otherwise. Most specifically, the kolaches from STL Kalachi in Sunset Hills at 1530 South Kirkwood Road.
They taste better. It's been proven. Just don't ask who proved it. Next, we'll move into the fun part that we always look forward to each week. It is those Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions. Again, go check out Felix's Pizza Pub at 6401 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown. If you can't be there at City Park this weekend, there's no better place to go check out. They are an official City on Tap bar, and they've got some of the best pizza and the wings that you'll find around, as well as some of the best beer on tap. So make sure you go check them out at 6401 Clayton Avenue. So this week, normally you prompt this throughout the Discord and the Reddits, and I actually copied you on the socials and included your prompt, but I'm going to save that prompt, and I'm going to read everybody's kind of answers, but I'll save those prompts, and then we can come back to them, because typically we like to answer our own prompts first and then get to see what everybody else says. So I'll kick it off with Dave's favorite person there is. It's Zach Gorski. He said, I'm tired of playoff talk. Being possible and being realistic are two different things. It's laughable hearing Critch talk playoffs when the boys are one match out of the wooden spoon. Who do you guys think will fill Alm's spot with? Immediate thoughts is Joyner, but if he's not going to play consistently, I'd rather him get minutes with City too. and that's the next part that he said, as far as the queue. But he did say, side note, you boys should do a live show on YouTube or remote. And this has been something that's probably been my number one thing I would love to do at some point, is just for us to either get in person and get on, live on, I don't know, we'd have to figure that part out. But I would love for us to sit there and just kind of watch along with the game with you guys, and have you guys be able to comment, and us kind of watch, all of us watching the game together while we're still apart. I think that would be super fun. I'm hoping we can make that happen before the end of the season comes around.
Oh, yeah. It seems like pretty easy to do. We would just have to figure out how to do YouTube live or live on Twitter. I mean, that doesn't seem that hard. I mean, we've got plenty of peers that do it on a weekly basis. So It doesn't seem like we should be able to do it somehow. So, yeah, I'm down. You know me.
Yeah. It doesn't seem that hard, but anything to us is hard. That shouldn't seem so hard. So that's
more of a case of making sure that it's a game that all three of us are watching, because that's not always the case. Like the Sunday night games are tough for you because you work, and then DH can't stay up past 8 o'clock on Saturdays, so it's tough. But yeah, we'll try to we will make it happen before the year is over. Yeah. If you're interested in speaking to us live, Gorski, or listening to our commentary live, you should come to Felix's on July 19th. While it's not a live recording, it is a watch party, and we will be offering commentary, probably lubricated with several adult beverages commentary. That's even better.
Yeah, those are the ones that you really want to get. So that's a call out there, Gorski. So see if you answer the bell there. But
I would love to see Gorski at this watch party. I'd love to see everybody at this watch party.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to, you'll just hear glass shattering like Stone Cold's entry music, and it's just going to be like Gorski's here.
Yes.
That's how it's going to be. We'll go to our man, Andy Sharoni, or My Sharoni. He said, I enjoy listening to SES. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Sunday is a new day. Well, we love having you here, Sharoni. And I already gave you a little bit of a idea for your next trivia night on the last episode, so make sure you use it, and make sure you throw my name out there whenever you...
That's a free answer for Sports by the Pound is what that is. That's one. That's 1 point out of 105 that we need to win that damn thing.
Yeah, but the day that comes, you'll still be like, oh God, who was that? Who was that? Like, it's gonna be one of those.
Somebody will get it. You know who will get it? Zarin. Zarin will get it.
Yeah.
Loyal. Because he's such a loyal listener. He'll get it.
Love it. We'll go to David Thompson next. He said, I think we look way better than we did with Olaf, with a bit more skill and possession and more compact defensively, but our ideals in the final third and finishing are still lacking. Mistakes are too many and the results are too similar. Hopefully we find a way to start getting some wins and figure out who wants to be here next season to get back to a winning culture. Yeah, I think that's kind of the outlook for the rest of the season, really, is see who's going to be here maybe next year. See what you can build off of. See what is a positive that you look forward to, building off, and what transfers you bring in that could complement those positive things that you have going forward, and build off of that, really.
Yeah, I will agree with him as far as offensive possession goes in flashes. I think the Real Salt Lake game kind of showed the when things go poorly, like the frenetic, not being able to connect simple passes and silly turnovers for whatever reason. But I mean, the finishing, you've got one guy that can't miss right now in Klaus for the most part. But yeah, he makes good points other than that. But yeah, listen, we've talked about it. Let the kids play. Let the kids play, man. Let's see what everybody's got. Let's see next year on opening night who is going to be here, who's going to feature, and who's going to be the future of this team.
Yeah, and who maybe deserves that first team contract, who, does get that official call up, and then we don't have to keep worrying about loans or when we can get them to work in. They're just a part of the team from there,
I think I read that Mackay now, to feature for the first team, has to be added to the main roster now. So
is he at that point?
Yeah, so the next time, and I could be wrong, I thought I saw Jay Clem report that, which, would make it infallible because Jay Clem's the man. But I think that, and listen, you've got a roster spot open now with Rasmus Alm. Like,
Yep.
it only makes sense. But things that make logical sense don't often happen. So,
That is true, especially around here. We'll go to our man Eric O'Donnell. He said, "All this losing brings me back to the painful reminders of me trying to talk to girls in junior high." I'm right there
oh,
with you, man.
don't get me started.
I was
So
not
awkward.
not so smooth back in those days. I can
I'm,
definitely,
I'm still not. I'm still
yeah.
not. I haven't learned. I never learned anything. Thankfully, I had one that I guess fell for my tricks, and it's been it's been a long time, and she still hasn't quite figured me out. So now she's
It must
stuck
have
with me, whether she likes it or
must
not.
must have been the fro back in those days. That was
Yeah,
a
it didn't
that had to
hurt.
have been an eye
It
catcher
didn't
back
hurt.
then.
It didn't. It didn't hurt. It is still like it, I gotta tell you this. Like sometimes sometimes your kids just say things and they just say them, but God, they really cut you to the core. Um, my daughter was telling my son about some pictures that one of my sisters had put on Instagram for their birthday, and one of them was I have twin sisters that are 4 years younger than me, and they had put pictures of the three of us when we were a lot younger. I was probably around my son's age, 10 or 11. That would have made them like 6 or 7, something like that. And my daughter said, Dex, she said, you look exactly like Dad did in that picture. And he just wasn't having it. And he said, we're in the car, he said, no offense, Dad, but I hope I don't grow up to look like you.
Oh, oh man.
And I'm driving the car, and just a little bit of me died inside.
Yeah.
And like, and I thought about it for a minute. I said, you know what, son? I said, I hope you're right. I said, I hope you are never 50 pounds overweight and lose all your hair, because that would be just tragedy. So sometimes
No,
those say things they just, it's just, you gotta go in the corner and cry for a minute, and then you get yourself together, and then you decide that they're going to community college. Not
yeah.
that there's anything wrong with community college. I had to go to a community college for about a year. But as far as funding goes, that might be his best choice.
Yeah, Delaney's slowly getting into that age where that old TV show kids say the darndest thing is definitely coming around more, where it's just they speak their mind once it pops into their head, no matter how they think anybody will take it. And she's come up with a couple good ones every once in a while where it sucks because you want to laugh, but then like you said, you go back and you almost kind of like look at yourself in the mirror being like, is she right on that? Like, am I like doing whatever? It's like, oh man. Yeah, you're like, why am I so concerned with the 6-year-old? But it's like, well, she sees me every day.
It's
Maybe
like,
she
oh,
knows.
I got to go to the gym, I guess.
Yeah, all right, yeah. You're right. That was Daddy's hair that was falling in the sink. You're right. That's great.
Oh,
Thanks for
no.
that, yeah. All those things. Gotta love it. We'll go to the St. Louis City SC fan. They said, will City's first piece of hardware be the wooden spoon? I like some of the transfer rumors, but it still feels odd to add players without input from the head coach who will be coaching the team, kind of like what happened this season. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
we talked about that on Tuesday.
that's where you're just really in a tough spot because you want to add pieces that you think will help complement your team, but you're also thinking like, well, is this going to complement this coach's team and who he wants to bring in? And if you're up in the air on who your coach is, you're kind of stuck in a funky spot because you don't want to have what happened just happened. And I think that's what Hack had to deal with a lot towards the back half of the season as well.
Yeah, this is also part of a broader discussion of why the MLS is at a disadvantage because of the schedule. Feel like, and there are a lot of pundits and experts that agree with this, that you feel like with signing windows that mirrored the rest of the world, that you'd have a easier time in turning a team around in the summer, rather than trying to make these signings right now when you have clubs that are on break while you're bringing guys in. Now, that doesn't mean that a team like City is automatically going to go out and start signing championship level players, but having the window all open at the same time would seemingly create a lot more opportunity to do that. And you would also wouldn't have an active coach during the summer, conceivably, because if you were to part with your coach, you would have done that in May. You'd have from May all the way till August to find a new coach. Just my thought.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Because you also got to think about those, not only just the player standpoint as well that you're hoping to sign, because they got to be thinking, well, let me finish out this season out and see what my options are as well. Maybe I could catch a run of form and go sign somewhere else. You're kind of you're. It's a tough point not having transfer windows lined up for sure. I wish there was a way that they could get that.
Let me ask you something, and we're not going to dive into the specifics of this. And I wish David was here. And this is something we'll have to ask him also, because he's always very outspoken about things like this. But without going into too much specifics about how we actually feel about the details of this, do you think the current political climate in this country has more of an impact on signing foreign players now than maybe it did, say, let's go back. Well, see, it's such a different game. It's such a different, MLS is in such a different position now than it was in like 2015. But let's just say 5 years. Do you think that, all things being equal, foreign players are shying away or could shy away from playing here because of the current political climate?
I definitely don't think it's helping things, because just as much as we're up in who knows what the hell's going on anywhere, they got to be thinking the same thing. They got to be thinking, what sorts of things would I have to go through to get, work permits and all that type of stuff? Is it a guarantee anymore? And that type of stuff, is that, because a lot of these players as well, they sometimes will set up life after playing in the States as well, and that's something they consider. And the other thing, different states have different, regulations and laws and rules and all that type of stuff, and maybe one more state looks more appealing than the other, and you're trying to learn all that type of stuff. It's definitely I don't think it's helping things. I think
it's not a non-factor for sure.
And I think the other thing that's going to have to be really considered here, possibly next year, is the shiny new toy could be leaving, Messi. I mean, and I think right now that's a big draw for a lot of those players coming over here. I saw a report today that DePaul, they always call him Messi's bodyguard, but his Argentinian teammate from Atletico Madrid is apparently in talks with Inter Miami now. Could that keep him to stay? But it's like the big draw, I think, is having Messi here, as far as like those big names or any sort of like big talent coming here. And with that gone, and then everything else, I mean, who knows? I definitely don't, like you said, wouldn't say it's a non-factor maybe.
Yeah, and I'm new signings for the MLS aside, and I know that this Club World Cup is sort of supposed to be like the litmus test for this, given that there are so many tourists and fans coming in from other countries to watch these clubs, which is so cool, by the way, to have like a stadium full of Palmeiras and Botafogo and Fluminense, and it's been so damn cool. Boca Juniors, River Plata. But this is supposed to have been like a litmus test for the World Cup, and I'm not sure that the scale is right. And my biggest concern is that we get to next June and things have escalated even further, which it appears they're not going to be de-escalated anytime soon. But my biggest concern is you're going to have hundreds and thousands and possibly millions of people that want to come into this country to watch these games, and they're going to have problems getting in, or they're going to have clashes with police or immigration or whatever. And it's not going to be, well, listen, FIFA's never worried about looking bad. If they had ever been concerned about looking bad, they would have pulled the World Cup from Qatar. They would have never awarded the cup to Saudi Arabia. They honestly would have pulled this cup for the United States, and they wouldn't have done the FIFA World Cup or the FIFA Club World Cup in the U.S. But I digress. Like it's such a powder keg, and I'm concerned more for everything that goes on outside. The game on the field is going to be fantastic. And my biggest concern is the things happening in the political world outside are going to take away from what should be a really good World Cup.
Well, you brought up Qatar. It was a fantastic World Cup on the field, but what's a lot of people
Yeah.
talk about the people that died building those stadiums and all
Yep.
this stuff. Like, that's almost more of a talking point than the actual performance. It was a great World Cup. It was from what
Yep.
I understood, the stadiums were beautiful. It ran smooth and everything like that. But it's still a talking point. Is more so like what happened prior to the
Yeah.
ball ever being kicked.
Man, again, God, this is and listen, I am not saddened that you and I are having this discussion. I just know that our colleague loves these types of discussions. This is what he lives for, is to talk about the the confluence of sports and society and somewhat morality. I've had this discussion with several people. I don't know if you've had it before, and it's kind of our hypocrisy. We're all hypocrites, right? Like, obviously, we're all hypocrites. Like, we support like a sport that's governed by one of the most corrupt bodies ever existed in the world, in FIFA, right? And that's, we also root for NFL plans who are owned by morally corrupt billionaires and all that shit. But setting that aside, like, this is a different set of morality. Like, we were outspoken about the atrocities that happened prior to the Qatar World Cup, and then we just ate up the stories that came out of there like just red meat, right? Do we as fans owe it to should our allegiances be diminished? Should we feel guilt over enjoying something that we've loved our whole lives because of the political factors and the monetary motivations that are driving it? Like, the thing that I keep hearing about this Club World Cup and is money grab, money grab, money grab, because that's what it is. It's a huge money grab for everybody involved. I don't know as a fan or as a person how I'm supposed to feel about me being so into this tournament that is so clearly exploitive of players, of fans, of a lot of different people. So I and maybe there's not a question there. Maybe I just want to put out there that I struggle with that, like, paradox a lot, right, in sports, to where, God, and not even sports, and art and entertainment, like, God, this person, these teams, these owners, they're just such pieces of shit. But unfortunately, they control something that is a huge part of my life and that I love. And I struggle with that. And I want to hear your take on a lot of that. I started from Qatar and ended up with art and music, but I think it's all wrapped up into the same thing.
Well, I'll more face that with something that I guess have more experience or is affecting me more, was music. I mean, there's been a lot of times where there's an artist that I love, or music songs that I love, and then something comes out about the artist that it's like, man, I don't feel I love this song, like, I love this whatever, and now I just, there's a weird feeling even listening to this music anymore. One of those, like, just for instance, was you remember the band Lost Prophets? You
Yeah.
ever remember? Yeah, like, some stuff came out about their singer, and I love that band, and I listened to them all when I was in high school, and still to this day I just can't listen to their music because of what, it's so. This is a tough one. You see articles every day about the World Cup and what could be, who could be here, who could not. Countries that have qualified that may not even be able to play in it anymore, and it's a tough thing to it's you don't. Hosting a World Cup, you want to just be known as, you want it to be looked at as the Germanys or the South Africas, or, like, you want it to be known for just the everything there, and you just hate for it to get all the talk that I'm seeing really isn't more around the game or anything like that. It's more about the negative stuff, and it just sucks to kind of be caught in the middle of all that, and it shouldn't be that way. It's supposed to be a celebrated thing, and I haven't felt like it's been really celebrated as much as it should be, I guess.
I think I think what I try to cling to, maybe I'm not saying this is what we should do, but I think number one, to be able to deal with it internally, we all have to recognize that there are no advanced, progressed, civilized nations that don't have blood on their hands in terms of like horrendous atrocities against humanity over modern history, right? This is called the last 2,000 years or whatever, call it the last 200 years, 500 years, whatever. I think the way that we deal with it is we start to acknowledge that everyone has blood on their hands. No one is innocent in this case. And that while we support a team or a group of players or a franchise or enjoy a sport or a piece of art or whatever, we can still acknowledge the lack of morality or that we're opposed, morally speaking, to what that team or that owner or that person has done, while also keeping that part of our lives. Now, there are limits, right? Like there's some things that you just can't come back from, like, certain actors or artists or athletes that have abused women or whatever. That's just like, I don't care. Like you're dead. You're dead to me. Whatever. But I think that's the place to start. I think that's the only thing we can do. Like, it's not. I hate that the responsibility is always on the fans to boycott. It's, you know what I mean? And it's like, but if we boycott it, then we don't enjoy it anymore. It's not part of our lives. Then who are we then? That's where I come down to it. So it's each individual choice, to stay with something or not. And there are going to be people that boycott the North American World Cup just like they did with the Qatar World Cup. And, we'll have the tournament and it'll be great. And we'll talk about the other shit that goes on around it. And we'll move on to the next horrendous atrocity-laden tournament in 4 years.
I think the thing that I'll always stand by, I said it earlier, I forget if it was this year or last year, all these years are blending in together, is no matter what, fan how you want to fan. And if you feel happy with how you fan or what you support or don't support or how you feel or whatever you do, as long as you're not affecting other people like directly, I'm, fan how you want to fan and do whatever if it's boycott, if it's not, if it's whatever it is, I'm glad. Because you know what? As long as you allow me to do the same, then I think that's what's most important, is that we let everybody feel their way.
Yep.
So we'll try and go out of bringing the mood back up there a little bit, and we'll go to we'll go to our buddy Ryan Cadlick. He's of course got us another Cadlick Combat. He said, before our battle this week, here's a random question. Since you guys like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, do you dabble in Dungeons and Dragons at all? Or is that too nerdy? If so, what race and class do you play? If you don't play, that means absolutely nothing to you. Next, we got 2 exciting battles for the ChatGPT, Inspector Gadget versus Gru, and Dewey versus Doctor Who. And unfortunately, we're going to have to add another one coming next week because, again, David's the one who handles the ChatGPT. It's going to be
a triple header.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hell of a card.
We're going to have a full fight card by the time we get to the full ChatGPT. But he said, same battle rules as always, 1v8, 2v7, 3v6, 4v5 random encounter. Combatants can use whatever they logically have on them. Seedings by ChatGPT. I took out our favorite syrup aunt for y'all because he had a discontinued syrup lady in there. So at the 1 seed, we've got Bazooka Joe. 2, we've got Twinkie the Kid. 3, Frito Bandito. 4, Fruit Pie the Magician. 5, the Pillsbury Doughboy. 6, Kool-Aid Man. 7, Morton Salt Girl. And 8, Mr. Owl from the Tootsie Pop. Then next week battle, we have sports mascots, all based off food. Otto the Orange from Syracuse. Kevin Bacon from Macon Bacon. Split from the Savannah Bananas. Dylan D. Pickle from Portland Pickles. Colonel the Cobb from the Cornelia College Cobbers. Boy. Cilantro Gomez from Fresno Tacos. Al the Almond from Modesto Nuts. And Barley the Hop from Hillsboro Hops. Wow, that I can't wait to look those guys up because that's
I'm
going
going
to
to do some deep research on that.
yeah, that's going to be some of those clubs.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, that's a pull there. But I love first off, I love just Cadlick's commitment to just the DW searches for last week, like just thinking that he's racking his brain, just typing in so many
Yeah.
different things and all that type of stuff. I love that. So we'll
He's
start
committed
off.
to the bit for
He
sure.
is. He is. And I've had a couple people tell us they enjoy the bit, so I'm glad
I
that
love it.
I'm hoping he's enjoying it just as much. So his first part of his question was about have we played Dungeons and Dragons at all, and if we did, what race and class did we play? So I'll answer for myself first. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, and not because it's too nerdy for me, just because I never was invited to play in anything, and then just as I've got older, just from watching certain like clips or something of other people playing it, it seems like it would be like me trying to figure out XG and all the contract base for City. I just feel like it would take me so long to get down. Maybe it's more simple than I'm seeing it as. Like it's one of those deals where it just seems complicated, but it's simple in fact. But for me, I never played it just because of those reasons. It just seemed very complex. I know there's like a dungeon master, I believe, who kind of controls the game, but how is it just a person who control and says whatever he wants to do? I'm out. Maybe it's way more simple than that. But it's definitely not like it's too nerdy for me. I just never got around to it.
Yeah, I never, and maybe it was the circles that I've always run in, but it's never been a thing. That's not to say that I wouldn't have given it a shot. I can't say that I think it would ever have been a huge part of what I do. But also, I will echo, I don't know that I could figure it out because I'm not super sharp at figuring out strategy games. I think I'd get my ass kicked.
I'm also worried had I gone down that road, this podcast wouldn't exist either because I would probably be so far down in that world that I'd
Well,
be
it'd just
doing
be a
probably
Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
Dungeons and Dragons podcast with I'd
Yeah.
probably be with Cadlick in there, but I
Yeah.
would love to know the classes and all that type of stuff.
South
think
End Sorcerers.
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, we'll just say we're sorcerers. We'll go with that one. I'm sure I know they're in there and stuff like that. But no, I mean, I'd be interested to, I guess, try and learn about it. It just seems too complicated for my small brain. Like I said, I'm happy with sports because they go one direction or the other, and I can figure that out. So we go
Kick ball in net, keep ball out of net.
yes.
Don't use hands.
Yeah.
It's very
if
easy.
you haven't picked up on this podcast, that's basically what we've been saying this whole time, and for some reason, City hasn't figured it out this year. For some reason.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. We broke it down simple as we can. So for our first matchup, we've got Bazooka Joe taking on Mr. Owl from the Tootsie Pop commercials, and I think it
Does Bazooka Joe get a bazooka?
Yeah, he's got it. If Bazooka Joe is walking around without a bazooka on him, then. But I still, even then, that old owl, I don't think is doing anything. I know he crushed that Tootsie Pop.
Oh, it's the owl. Oh, I was thinking you were saying owl like A-L. No, it's Bazooka Joe.
Sorry. Yeah.
He might be wise, but he's old.
Right. And I mean, owls are ferocious, but you're not as ferocious as a bazooka. I can tell you that much. Next, we'll go to Twinkie the Kid versus the Morton Salt Girl. And I just looking at that little girl on that canister of salt that I have at work that they use. That girl's not taking anybody down with her little umbrella.
She's salty,
or she
though.
has
She's
on
got salt to her. And Twinkie the Kid, Twinkies are so soft. Like, you could bust his dome open so easy and just like.
Do you think she uses the umbrella to bust? Do you think she?
Oh, that's just poking holes and he's leaking whipped cream. Oh man, yeah.
Do you think she does?
Girl.
What's the one? Wasn't there like I never really watched it as much, but wasn't there a wrestler that would like spit something in your face, like sand or something like that, and then they'd cover their eyes?
Gold Dust would do. I mean, that was always a thing. Like Gold Dust would do it. I mean,
what if this Morton Salt Girl blows some
salt
in Twinkie's eyes,
yes,
and then just goes to town with that umbrella?
She just became a dark horse to win this whole thing.
I think, yeah.
You just blew my mind.
I'm going the Morton Salt Girl off that one there. There we go.
Yep.
All right, so we've got Frito Bandito taking on who I think should be a pretty big favorite in this whole thing is Mr. Kool-Aid Man.
Man. So, one thing I've ever understood about the Kool-Aid Man is how he busts through walls and never shatters his glass
Never breaks
pitcher.
that pitcher, man. Doesn't spill a drop either.
I mean, he's a tank.
I always love
but
the
he's
Family
still made
Guy
out
episode.
of glass.
I always love the Family Guy episode where he busts through a wall and it's just like a family sitting there and he's like, "Oh, wrong house. Sorry." And he backs out slowly.
He just backs out real slowly. Man, doesn't the Frito Bandito, isn't he carrying? Doesn't he carry a piece?
Is he? I mean, he's a bandito, so it would make sense.
Yeah.
Are those bullets enough to go through that pitcher? Because the walls aren't taking it down. So,
oh man,
I mean,
this is so tough.
This could be a
Frito Bandito. Let's see.
This could be a tough one.
Yeah, dude, he's carrying 2 guns. Oh, he's menacing.
He's dual wielding. That's why he's got a
dual
higher
wielding
seed
pistols
in there.
Oh god, this
I
is
mean,
so
you
tough.
got to think if he's got to have those on him. And
yeah, I'm still going Kool-Aid Man.
going
I think
Kool-Aid
if
Man?
that all the abuse that pitcher has taken, and all the brick walls that he's busted through, I don't think. And these pistols look like Civil War era pistols. I'm not even sure that maybe they don't. They probably just like a little sign comes out that says "bang."
Remember those old pistols? They had no accuracy whatsoever, and then it's probably one of those like you got to load the gunpowder back in. By that time, the Kool-Aid's busting through and just yelling, "Oh man!" or "Oh yeah," and that's all you. That's the last words you hear at that point.
Yeah,
because
it's Kool-Aid Man. Yeah.
Yep. And then our last first round matchup, we've got Fruit Pie the Magician taking on the Pillsbury Doughboy. And I mean, if you're a magician,
it's hard to be a doughboy and win a battle royale.
especially every time you're touched, you giggle like that. I mean,
yeah.
now that could be that's some like scary movie type stuff though. If you're punching somebody and they're absorbing your punches and just giggling,
he's just laughing at you. He's like Fight Club.
Yeah.
But he's still made out of dough. He's still made out of dough. It's got to be a magician.
He's got a great offense, but I can't see the Pillsbury Doughboy bringing any defense to. Or no, he's got a great defense, but I can't see him bringing any offense to there.
I'll get him with a rolling pin.
So Fruit Pie the Magician is taking. So our second round matchup is we've got Bazooka Joe taking on Morton Salt Girl. So this is a interesting.
This is destined to show down Morton Salt Girl and the Kool-Aid Man. That's destiny here.
Is this our Wendy from like the first Cadlick combat that we had, where she made a run because of her we underestimated
But this is
her.
like Wendy with weapons.
Yeah. Yeah. 2.
Yeah.
I mean, your eyes aren't recovering from that, and you got to also
Morton
think
Salt Girl.
A bazooka. You get one shot, and if you miss on that,
you get one shot.
You're in a little trouble there from there. So. Morton Salt Girl moves on. Then we got the Kool-Aid Man taking on the Fruit Pie the Magician.
Yeah, get out of here, Fruit Pie. It's just nothing.
I feel like if your name is Fruit Pie, even if you are a magician, you're working kids' parties at all times.
You're soft.
There's not as much sorcery.
The only way
on.
Fruit Pie gets a win here is he faced someone who is softer, and that's the Pillsbury Doughboy. That's the only way.
Yeah.
That's why he got a win.
So next week, hopefully, we will have on our main card Inspector Gadget taking on Drew, Dewey versus Doctor Who, and then the Morton Salt Girl taking on the Kool-Aid Man. And I tell you what, like if there's ever a UFC card that you want to see made happen, I mean, that's got to be it, right?
Who's the headliner here? Is it? I think it's Morton Salt Girl and Kool-Aid Man. I think they just jumped into the main event.
I think you're right. It would remind me of the old like first UFC days where there'd be like a sumo wrestler taking on like Hoist Gracie, and it's just like you got pure size against like
a guy with
ability.
one boxing glove.
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
that was
exactly.
So,
so we'll have that one next week, and the last one I have before we get into the prompts and everything, of course, is from our man KVK from the No Go Patrol. He said, while we were having your discussion about CB radio call signs, Dave brought up his days of playing Halo. Halo is my favorite game franchise of all time. The endless hours and memories I have from playing multiplayer with friends are some of my most cherished. What are some of your favorite games and memories to go with them? So I'll just start off and say this. My my Nerds Day Thursdays, I still play Halo online. I it sucks because the kids are staying up a little later and later during summer, so I'm struggling staying up later and later to be able to play it up in my little man cave area. But I still play Halo online just because it's the one that, as bad as I am, you can kind of still like Call of Duties and all that. They just got way like Halo is still, you get one weapon, no attachments, no fixings or any you're always on a level playing field with other people. You don't have to pay to play basically to be successful. So that's why I still enjoying Halo. But as far as any video games, um, I mean, I've played like some of my most cherished are like all the Tony Hawk Pro Series games. I grew up racing dirt bikes, so I used to love like any MX versus ATV Unleashed games. But some of my favorites were the, again, nerd coming out in me, the Lord of the Rings franchise games. I always enjoyed any sort of so if it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater or anything Lord of the Rings, I was typically checking it out. Or Skate, like the Skate game series that EA made. There's supposed to be a new one coming out that I'm excited for. Unfortunately, as we're older, responsibilities, the video gaming time has definitely dwindled down significantly. But I mean, I still every once in a while like to get on there. But I think you were a big Halo guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it hit at the right time for us when we were in high school and then early on in college. I mean, back to the days where we bought the hub and we played, 4v4 with two TVs facing one way and two TVs facing the other. And then when I got to college, you could plug into the dorm and have these huge LAN parties with Halo 2 and Halo 3. But most vivid memories of that game in particular were our friend Jake, season ticket holder, big soccer fan. Jake, without any doubt, I would challenge anyone right now listening to this ever to try Jake in any of the Halo games. I will bet any amount of money that he would destroy you. He was top, at one point, he was top 1% of ranked online Halo players. Like, no doubt, they had a ranking system for a little while where you could play, the different variations of games, and he and I were a 2v2 team, and he carried me. He carried me up about 10 levels. I mean, he was that good. Now it came, he played a lot. It came at the price of his sanity and I think his liver a little bit. He would admit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was really, really good.
He was also really good at Call of Duty. I remember when I lived with him, he used to work nights, and he would come home, and his TV was set up just outside my room in the basement, and I would hear a crack of the beer and him just talking all sorts of nonsense to anybody online, and I just would be like, the way he's talking, but he'd be top of the leaderboard every single time. Like, he just like
Jake is the original game lobby troll.
Yes.
I will tell you though, out of all my favorite memories playing that stupid game, it involves our friend and colleague. One night we were at Jake's house and we convinced my then girlfriend, now wife, on the offensive to play, and she played against DH. And it was like side-splittingly comical. Like, neither one of them could figure out how to walk. Because if you remember, Halo, you had to walk with your left thumb and look around with your right thumb. And neither of them could figure out. And I think Katie may have gotten off a lucky grenade and killed DH one time. And that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I could totally see that, yeah.
Honorable mention stuff, when NHL 12 came out, I think it was 12, we used to play in this league. We had an NHL 12 league with a bunch of our friends from Granite City, and that was a blast because we'd get together and actually play like a full season of having our own NHL 12 team. So that was fun. Yeah, man, had a lot of fun times playing games like that, and didn't turn into a complete inside kid or inside hermit like my parents always told me I would if I played too many video games. So
yeah, true. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot FIFA. I've out.
Oh my
FIFA,
God, yes,
tons. When you were speaking to Jake, me and Jake, I used to drive out to his house in Florissant, and we would just we would start out and we'd play a best of 5 series, Man U versus Chelsea, and then we would just go league by league. Like we'd do the Italian league, you had to pick a team. We did internet. Like we would just spend our nights doing that. Like FIFA, like to me was like that's definitely, I mean, probably my most played franchise that I've had is
so
FIFA.
FIFA was great. FIFA still is great, but in terms of like soccer gaming, it was relatively easy. I think I've mentioned before a game called Winning 11 that we played when I was at Lindenwood that my teammates introduced me to. That was the most difficult soccer game to score on ever. That if you were good at Winning 11, you were a real beast of a soccer video game player.
Didn't you have to like diagonal your own path? Like it wasn't just an automatic path. You had to point your diagonal. It was way more advanced.
All very. Yeah. And FIFA had that also, but this was much more difficult and advanced. And you definitely couldn't just go to the corner and cross the ball and score head ball goals every time.
Well, no, I know where FIFA like definitely had that distinction because when Jake and I were playing, I knew when I was drinking too much and he hadn't drank enough because he would start to take Peter Cech and try and dribble the whole field and try and score on me. And that's when I knew, like, okay, you don't have to really be soccer knowledge to be decent, like at least against some people. And so, that's when I was always like, all right, you know what? Can I get a water? Like, you can't score on me with your goalie, so. Those are the ones I have. I still have prompt answers from some of these, but we'll send it over to Reddit and Discord from here.
Okay, hit Reddit real quick. I did have some good responses on Reddit, so I'm just going to roll through these. Fatbug24, he's new. We wouldn't have needed a dying seconds header if Toychert was even a whisper of 2024 Toychert if we had a midfield at all. Or if we didn't have to play Yarrow. Yes, missing a high-quality chance sucks, but we're going into games with a defense without a defense and or a commanding midfield when your 9 has just as many headers in his defensive box as the offensive box. What the F are we even doing? Let's see. These were and these are responses to my message or my episode title that we talked about. How the F do you miss that? So some of these don't make sense. Sir Mercs a lot. Seen a lot of this talk, but that wasn't actually a very easy chance. He was wrestling with the defender as the ball was already in the air, which meant he couldn't get into an ideal position to get it on goal. Wasn't like he was just standing there wide open. I totally agreed. All this, by the way, again, it was just discussion and a funny episode title.
Yeah.
And I told him that, and he said, that's more than fair. We've definitely all yelled, how the F do you miss that? A lot this year. And then OK Persimmon 9998 said, you could have named the episode Jesus Christ, but that might send mixed messages. I do like that. OK Persimmon, that was the same one. Why aren't our wingers, the 2 that we do have, starting any matches, and why do we keep seeing the woefully ineffective Toychert instead of getting the chance to a 24-year-old Jeskalainen? I don't think he's quite ready yet. I think that's probably why. Hidden input. If this game was as easy as the comment section acts like sometimes all of us here would be professional athletes, no doubt. There's only, we all clearly, we just never got the chance, right? Like if we would have gotten a good break, we could have been professionals.
If they'd show up to an occasional Thursday night league, the city season would be a different story.
That's right. So I did throw the prompt out there, and we can go ahead and get into this right now too, because I think there's a lot of prompt answers on No Goal Patrol. The prompt was, if animals could talk, which would be the rudest? So
yeah,
I'm gonna go. Juice Man 23, monkeys. They'd be hanging around talking a bunch of shit. Flip flop kitten hands, geese. They just yell at you constantly for being in their yard.
Yeah,
Professor geese, Beer. Professor Beer. As a dog lover, dogs. They would have zero filter and zero awareness. OK Persimmon 9998. Cats. Just cats.
Dude.
And then I'll move over to No Goal Patrol real quick. Fando Phil says geese 100%. Fedlord Colton, only other thing I can think of other than geese is a chihuahua. KVK, hyena, Canadian boost, mockingbird. Fando Phil, I think ostrich could also be a contender.
No, ostrich, yeah.
I don't know why ostrich got thrown in there. I'm going to need more. We need
a
background behind that.
Sounds like somebody had a bad experience.
Fando Beth, cats. They usually come across as fairly aloof. And skunks. That sting spray is pretty rude. So she's not wrong at all. Okay, so did you have a response for this? Is that how we're gonna wrap this up with our
Yeah, yeah,
answers?
yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to, since you said his name, I thought he was answering the prompt, but he just said Fetlor Colton had one earlier. He said only question is what is a handball, and I'm assuming he's referring to the almost more the handball in the USA men's national game, that where I know like the Mexico player was falling down and
Yeah,
to play, and there was an explanation about it, like if a player is falling and his natural motion and it landed directly on the
is to
ball.
brace himself.
Yeah, was to brace himself. I never looked at it like more than anything else as
Yeah.
far as outside of that. Um, I will say Gorski in here. He said cats. That was the answer. My mom, Marie, actually said, I think she said hippos are notoriously aggressive. Hippos can
Rude.
be
There's a
very
fine line
aggressive.
between rude and murderous.
Now, it is a little rude that if you're within 100 yards of somebody's, house, that they drastically charge you underwater and
That
scare
they
the
would
ever
that they
loving
would murder
Jesus
you.
out of you.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty rude.
my initial answer, and it's just because they're known for being kind of jerks, was cats. They just like push glasses off tables, and like I just feel like, but just the looks that I feel like cats, like even when I typed it in, like judgmental animals, all that popped up were cats, and giving like cats giving like owners weird looks and stuff like that. But a big shout that somebody put in there was geese. Boy, geese are
Yeah.
just like, man, they are aggressive, loud,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know how many times you go to a near pond and you're just thinking they look so, I don't know why they just look friendly, and you just think almost associate them with ducks, but then all of a sudden you're getting just chased. Same with like swans and stuff like that. But to me,
Yeah.
just cats, man, they're like you could also be petting them one minute and and the other thing, when I worked in an animal hospital, the the worst was when somebody brought in a cat and I had to try and hold them down while they gave them shots or anything like that. Like it was a day where you knew that was my job for the day, because I just went home looking like I just got
You're
destroyed.
getting
So
cut up, huh?
yeah, cats, man, they're just rude and aggressive,
Yeah.
all of the above.
Yeah.
But they definitely seem
Geese
like
and
they would judge you
swans. Yeah.
being in your house.
Yeah. Geese and swans is a really good shout. Um, because they've got beef like for no reason. That's
Yeah.
my biggest problem is why do you have beef with me for no reason? And just walking across roads and like sidewalks and just randomly just shitting all over the place and not like
Yeah.
coming back and cleaning up after themselves at all. Like that's a rude animal. I think it's geese. Like cats are a-holes, but I feel like cats have a sense of decorum. I feel like geese are just like the drunken frat boys of the animal world. Like just like it's like I'm at an SEC school on like a Saturday night after their team just got thumped and they're just out on the town just running amok. Yeah, it's I think the answer is geese,
Dude,
100%.
that that comparison might be the most accurate. Like, I just because they puff out their chest and they just look big. Like, what are you looking at me? You looking at me? And then they just take a crap in your driveway and fly off. Like, that's what I thought. And you're man, like that is what it is. Like the way they come at
But like they
you is
really
like,
have so really they're more like Mizzou fans than anything because what do they really have to brag about? Like the geese are like 8-5 in the animal world. Like they don't kill anything. They're relatively weak compared to like real animals. Like real animals could take them out really easy. But like
yeah.
because
Have you ever
because there's more of them in a given area and because there's never been any major expectations with them, they think they can puff their chest out and just walk around like big man on campus.
there's unfortunately there's videos go like around of like when geese like accidentally fly into like tiger uh pits and like zoos and
Oh
stuff
God,
like that,
I
and
saw
they
that.
stand
That was
there like
that
almost
was a
like
poor
trying to
decision.
defend a little
Yeah.
bit of water, and the tiger's like, dude, what are you know?
I'm,
It's just like
I'm a tiger.
they feel like, yeah, we'll get them right, guys. guy. Oh, it's just one of those deals where it's just like, in a
so
group
good.
they feel strong, but but the comparison of geese and drunk frat guys might be the most accurate animal comparison I've ever heard. Once you said it,
we need David to come back and have a ChatGPT image generated of like a drunken frat goose. Drunken frat goose hanging out with Jerry. That would be awesome.
I'll tell you this, but I'll tell you this much. Where's Femney where is Femney, honestly?
Femney's MIA, and I mean, Sly Fox has checked in a couple times, but Femney is MIA, man.
Yeah, Femney. I think he ran out of minutes on his calls, and he's in solitary or something like that. But
might have just gotten shanked.
Yeah, but let's hope not. But I really do feel like there's going to be like a funny animals Catholic combat come up here in the future at some point, and drunken geese. It's got to be like specifically a drunken goose, like as far as like that. Like we'll have an on the run giraffe and then a drunken goose. Like those are going to be part of the Catholic combat, like wild animal Catholic combat. So,
oh my God, fun stuff.
Those were great. Any more on your end?
No, that's it, man.
Those were all fantastic submissions this week. We really do appreciate those. Those were your Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions. Make sure you again go check out Felix's Pizza Pub. They are an official City on Tap bar at 6401 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown, as well as where we will be hosting our watch party on July 19th at 7:30, as City will be taking on FC Dallas. So come down, hang out. We'll have, by the end of the night, we'll have so many Catholic combats going on. It'll be insane, just the discussions, but we're really looking forward to that. And we really want to thank all our sponsors as well, including Ready to Live Wellness. Go check them out for all your health and wellness needs at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard, as well as get that swag at Warrior Logo Wear. Go check them out at 12 East Main Street in Mascoutah, Illinois. We kicked off this episode with our STL Kolache preview. That was brought to you by STL Kolache in Sunset Hills at 1530 South Kirkwood Road. We just had those Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions, as well as earlier in the week, we brought you that elite news and notes from the back post, brought to you by Elite FT. Check them out at eliteft.com or at 101 The Game Drive. Keep up with all these great submissions, or send in your submissions to all our socials. On Instagram, we're South End Supporters. Our Twitter and our Reddit is _SES_podcast STL. Make sure you're also checking out our Facebook page and our YouTube to keep up with all things South End Supporters. So, for myself, Erik Cole, for the Monday Morning Center back, Dave Wyckoff, and for our buddy David Heck, you've been listening to South End Supporters. We'll see you next week, and until then, let's go City.